So in 2019, I got diagnosed with bipolar disorder. It wasn't type 1 or type 2. They said it was bipolar disorder, unspecified, manic, and depressive. So I wanted to talk about this today. If you guys might be struggling with it or want to understand it, I'm not going to give you the Google definition of it. You can look that up online. I'm going to tell you how it experiences me, and I really want to touch on mania so you guys can get an understanding of what manic episodes are and what you can do to still make the correct decisions and not just spiral out of control while you're manic. So 2019, I got diagnosed with this. I was in a detox. The whole diagnosis part, it's one of those things where I don't know how much I buy into diagnosing mental health disorders. It just comes down to you got certain symptoms that line up with what they call is this disorder. So I'm not in denial, like I do believe I have this, but just saying, like, going a layer down, like, what is this? My understanding is it's a label of symptoms. The label is bipolar disorder. The symptoms, manic, depressive, mood swings, feeling super strong emotions, either anger, happiness, sadness, depression, super bouts of energy. So it's basically all these things. 2019 I got diagnosed, but long before that I always had symptoms of it. The symptoms always lined up. The biggest things that I dealt with when I was younger was I had mania. I didn't know what it was, and it wasn't necessarily to the degree that I have it now. I couldn't sleep at night. I had super anger problems, and I was depressed a lot. Those are the biggest impactful symptoms that I had, that I was experiencing when I was younger. Fast forward, as I got older, I have a theory on what made the things worse and kind of like exacerbated this illness, if you call it that, this disorder, was drug usage and traumatic events. I think both of those things, trauma, it made what I had to the point where I had to get medicated for it. It got so bad to the point where, emotions are out of whack, and I wanted to put it nicely, I wanted to hurt somebody very badly. And that's when I started to get medicated. Like, I got medicated with, what was it called? It was actually a medicine for anger. I'm blanking on it right now because it's been so long since I've taken it. But before that, I got medicated with Seroquel, and Seroquel was a game changer for me because it allowed me to sleep at night. I was using a lot of drugs before, especially, my younger years. I smoked weed for probably, 10 years straight, pretty heavily. I was smoking weed to sleep at night, and, then eventually the weed wouldn't really help me sleep at night anymore. So as I got older and I went through more life events that I believe had caused it to worsen, Seroquel, I tried the anger medicine was called Depakote. I'm remembering it now. I also tried an antipsychotic called Halidol. So Seroquel, Halidol, and Depakote, those are 3 things I've tried. The only thing I still take anymore is Seroquel. So let me get into it a little bit more. The things that I experience right now, because this is something that's progressed, not necessarily worse, like mania has, I would say, is bad, but it's more like self-induced, not just to be like, oh, I want to be manic. It's just the lifestyle, like working a lot, staying up will induce the mania. But over time, even if I could argue, oh, it's gotten worse, I've actually gotten better at coping with it, a lot better. So back when I didn't even know I had this, I would get manic and I would make sporadic decisions, whether that's hurting somebody or causing acts of hurting myself. You know, an example, taking drugs that could potentially kill me, or doing things that are just, the risk factor is so high. It's like, logically, the way I would think about it, not manic, is like I wouldn't do that, but manic, it's like all bets are off. All the decision process I made, like you know, I'd go manic and just, I've always want to do something, and that would turn into me using that mania to do incorrect things out of, I don't know whether it's emotion or just the mania or the energy from it, but do like crazy things. Like, I don't even really want to get into too many examples because I just don't even really want to like go that deep into it, but I would make insane decisions like off of this mania, and at the end of it I would end up being depressed. And it was like daytime excitement and sporadic decisions and nighttime depression. Never knew what it was. As this has progressed, I've learned to cope very well, and it's because I mentally, obviously, I've gotten older. I'm 28 now, and I've gotten older. I've gotten more used to the feeling and know what to expect from it. So, like, if I get a crazy, and also something that happened to me that helped me deal with it, which I know everybody isn't going to have this option, but having this surgery I had, and they messed up my vocal cord, so that's why I have chronic hoarseness of my voice. But not being able to speak as much actually helped me out, because I was that kid in school that would just, I get this crazy energy burst and shout out stupid shit and get myself in trouble off of impulse, like super bursts of energy, and just fucking get myself in trouble or get people in trouble, piss people off. And with this voice situation, that like calmed my mind down to where now one of my coping mechanisms with this is I basically bite my tongue on a lot of stuff. So when I get these energy bursts and when I get like super depressive and super manic, I'm not acting on it. I'm more or less like trapping it inside my mind and just processing the emotion, because I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing to like have these emotional spikes. It's when you act on them, and it's when you start feeding it all to other people. Like, people will tell you like, oh, talk to people, this and that, and it's like, you know, I think that's okay to talk to people, and I do talk to people sometimes, but I don't necessarily like I'll more or less like be more talking about something I would already talked about and just elaborate on it more. Like it's like I'm harnessing the mania to do what I already should have done. For instance, work. I take the mania to work, I go crazy, like I'm so good at work, but I'm also in a position where I can work with myself or work for myself, so I don't have as much. I've kind of set it up that way, and it's all kind of lined up that way to where I don't have to have as much potential conflict with other people, because that's a big liability for me, is potential conflict and arguments with people. I've gotten into a few situations, even where I'm at now, for work and stuff, where I did not handle things appropriately, and I don't know necessarily that like I regret it because it didn't spiral, but it could have easily been something I regretted, if that makes sense. And so harnessing this mania, using the mania to help you do what you're already going to do, biting your tongue and not letting it leave your mind. Don't act on the emotion and go crazy. And you get more used to the feeling. You can't get lost in this black hole of super negative or super positive unless you know that you have the mental capacity to back yourself out of the hole, because it hits me in flashes. Like right now, I'm in between, another thing, for me, it's induced by lack of sleep. And if I don't take Seroquel, which I do, I take 200 milligrams at night. But if I don't take the Seroquel, I go crazy, to put it lightly. So if you really have this, a big thing too is actually medicating yourself, because whenever I've tried to go without it, I just I start going crazy, man. And that's just how it is. So those are a few tips and tricks, coping mechanisms, ways I cope with it. Working out's a good one. Working out's good for everything, but directing, let's say you're in a super depressed episode or a super energetic episode, and directing that towards working out, it all comes back to using the mania to help you do what you already are going to do or already need to do. Harness it. And if you need to talk to somebody, talk to somebody. Just talk to somebody you can trust, that knows, and and you're aware that this is just an episode, and the person that you're talking to understands that, oh, he's going through a manic episode. Let me just hear what he's got to say, and it'll help you process. But be very careful with it, because I've gotten myself in a lot of trouble because of it. A lot of trouble because of mania. Especially not treating it and not knowing the treatment protocol. I went to a lot of therapists and a lot of psychologists and tried a lot of different medicines. And for me, Seroquel worked. But yeah, guys, stay safe. Harness it. I personally think it can be a gift. You're not normal if you have it, obviously, but I think it's a gift, and I think everybody can be considered to have mania time to time. But it's like people that really have it more, they're manic and depressive. It's extreme. But good luck to you guys, man. If you need anything, reach out, and I'll always respond on here if you have any questions or want a different video. I can kind of elaborate on things. All right, y'all. Peace.